Hello everyone, I'm Silver. Today is actually Monday, the 30th of May. Happy Memorial Day to everyone in the States. Hope everyone had a good day with picnics and whatever. Probably by the time you see this will be Tuesday, but just in case, I wanted to wish you a happy Memorial Day either way. I just wanted to thank everyone for stopping by to check out the Dream World as I see it. And a further thank you for those select few who've already found my show on Ravelry. Thank you for your kind words there on the forum. I do appreciate them. Trust me, I do. And do apologize for grousing a little bit about technical issues that happened when I tried to record last week. But that's a whole another matter altogether. A few quick things that I want to discuss, just before I kind of catch you up with my crafting life. I've been knitting for 20 years, yet I feel like there is a lot to learn still. My grandmother taught me how to knit in the height of my tomboy youth, and it's pretty much taken off since I discovered the joys of knitting lace just a few short years ago. Besides knitting, I also do some needlepoint and latch hooking. I read quite a bit, play video games, and watch a lot of movies. I also tend to binge watch TV shows like they're going out of style. Let's see, I've been married about 6 years to a wonderful man with whom I've been in love with since I was 16. And we are actually coming up, we're going to be coming up on our 16 dating anniversary coming up this next week. So if you're listening, honey, happy anniversary ahead of time. I know you have to work, but I don't. But anyway, we've been in band, and the rest is history, so we say. We have a cute cat named Mario, who, yes, we did name after the video game character. I recently opened up a handcrafting business with 3 of my closest friends a few years ago. We call it Silver's Knitted Treats. We are relatively new and specialize in handmade items. I want to plug this now just so you know about it. Links to our thrift shop and website will be in the show notes, so you can check it later if you will. That's the last time I'm going to mention it. As best as I am able, I won't want to make it all about that. That's just a little bit of my life. Now that you know a bit about me, I want to know the reason I started this podcast. Honestly, I think I have a lot to say. I'm pretty opinionated, just ask my husband and my family. I just wanted to document the crazy basically that will be my summer. I'll talk more about that later and the reason why I'm going to be going a little bit crazy. One last note before I talk about my knitting, I'm going to make a couple of blanket apologies. The first one is that I'm going to be recording after long work weekends, so my voice may be rough, mostly because I work in a call center and that's pretty much all I do. So my voice may be rough. The second thing I want to note is if I am talking too fast for you, I do apologize. I have been told to slow down my speech patterns, but if I am talking way too fast, let me know. I do take criticisms like a champ. I'm catching myself doing it as we speak. Alright, and now on to the current works in progress on my needles. I'm actually working on quite a few. Last count I had was 23. I'm going to use the active whips that I'm working on. The first one is going to be what I'm calling simply the mermaid's tail. It's the Ladies Mermaid Tail Lapgan Cocoon Blanket. It's by Angie Hartley. It's in 2 different colors that I'm using. One is Great Purple and one is Rosewood. And those are actually from Caron Simply Soft. It's coming along pretty good. I'm about halfway done with the main body part of it, so that's always good. I am also currently working on a color affection. It's Vera Macchielli. I am really bad with pronunciations. I do apologize about that. However, just so you know, the one that I am working on has 2 tones of red and a little bit of tan. I was working on a second one, but I'll get back to that in a minute. And I'm also working on 2 pairs of the Blurred Line socks by Megan Williams. Both of them are going to be on 2 colorways of Lollipop Yarn Beefcake base. The first one is on Raise the Roof, and I guess it's why they call it the blues. Oh my goodness, I love working with the yarn, and I was very lucky to be able to be part of my family at work. We decided we were going to have a crazy sock day, and I offered those two up as prizes. So I have to get going on that relatively soon. I've also been working on a little bit on my Tetris blanket. It's basically a test knit that I'm writing up for myself. It's a lot now of mattress stitching, putting the pieces together, so you know how that goes. It takes forever. So until I get to the pattern writing and getting that released, I'm just gonna call that secret knitting, just for now. I have pictures up on my Ravelry page, so if you really would like to go, it's up to you. I'll let you know how to find me there later. The other thing I'm kind of working on is a blanket for one of my coworkers. I don't have much of that done, so I'm not really considering that a work in progress because I haven't touched it since Stash Dash started. Ah, speaking of Stash Dash, that's actually going to be the reason I'm going to have a pretty crazy summer. I'm actually participating in Stash Dash with the ladies of the Knit Girls podcast, which is basically a way of getting rid of some of the yarn that is in our stashes that's been in there forever. Or if you've been holding on to it saying, oh, it's so pretty, I don't want to let it go. Yes, if you're like me and your stash has gotten out of control, this is for you. I'm actually participating in my second stash dash. This year I'm going whole hog. I'm going for 15K, which means I'm going to be knitting up projects and have projects on my needles that will eventually add up to 15 kilometers of yarn. If you don't know, that's quite a bit of yarn. And trust me, my stash is thanking me already. I'm getting rid of a lot. But yeah, I've put a lot of projects aside over the past year with anticipation of trying to finish it for Stash Dash, and suffice to say, knitting was not a hobby at one point. It started to get a little bit tiresome, and now that Stash Dash has started officially, sorry, Friday morning, it's been fun. I've gotten a chance to I've gotten a chance to cast off a few items. And now that we're to that, and now that I've actually gotten a chance to start casting off projects, let me tell you what I've been working on, what I've actually gotten a chance to finish. The first one that I started and finished about 40 minutes after Stash Dash started was Another Hitchhiker, which is by Martina Ben. This time I did that one in the Dear Diary colorway by Knit Picks. I had some problems with the yarn at first. It was definitely splitty, but it was overall a good knit. It's actually got a little bit of pink in there and some gray, which pretty much is my jam when it comes to colors. So that made it that's why I kept going with the project. Let's just put it that way. The second thing that I finished about 3 hours after that was actually the rest of the Yaza Weight Shawl number 2 by Susan B. Anderson that I've been working on. That one was in the Tartish colorway by Miss Babs. And let me tell you, I absolutely loved that colorway. It definitely reminds me of The Good Doctor. Yes, ladies, I'm talking about Doctor Who. And speaking of the Tartish colorway, I did also make another shawl out of it. It was the Bella shawl by Jumper Cables. So I had 2 skeins of it sitting in my stash, and has been sitting in there for a good bit. And I decided it was time I needed to use it. And I think I found 2 different projects that I absolutely loved to work with. The fourth one and the last one that I have for a finished object, or FO, is actually is the color affection that I was previously working on. Now I'm working on size 2 needles, which is 4 sizes, count them, 4 sizes under what it calls for in the pattern, and therefore it made a lot smaller shawl than I was anticipating. But that's okay. I still enjoy it. It actually does have a little bit of purple in there and 2 shades of gray, which, again, my jam, y'all. my jam. Let's see. Now that you know what I've finished for the week, there are quite a few projects still on the needles, and some that I haven't quite cast on, but I really, really want to work on them. The first thing is, like I mentioned before, I do have a supervisor at work who's actually expecting her second daughter. I'm planning on making some baby items for her, including the blanket that I'm currently working on, as well as a couple of sweater sets, one for her eldest daughter and her youngest daughter, so they can kind of match. Let's just put it this way, it's gonna be crazy, but I'm gonna do it anyway, because that's just who I am. I haven't quite worked up the exact specifics of that yet, so I will get back to you on that. The next projects that I do want to knit will be the rest of the Yowza Weight shawls. I'm actually obsessed with knitting them all now, especially now that I have a kitchen scale and can be exact in my measurements of those particular shawls. Before, I was just winging it and kind of saying, okay, that works, whatever. And yeah, I kind of enhanced my stash a little bit to get that taken care of, but more on that later. The third thing that I would like to knit would be the Typhoon Shawl by Josh Ricks. I heard from a friend and from a fellow podcaster, Jay Mitma, of the Second Ed Zombies podcast, who had a lot of fun knitting it, and I'm just pretty sure I'm ready to go with that shawl. I've actually had that, as I call it, kitted up and matched with yarn for the longest time. Alas, the long list of shawls that I was already planning for Stash Dash must definitely come first. So, need to get some more needles. Either get some more needles or just make some more room on those needles that I already have to get that done first. The next thing, and this is kind of a long shot and a dream, it's going to be what is called the Even Star. It's such a pretty shawl. I've never worked with lace before. Um, I'm going to tell you first thing, the first thing about this is I did attempt this, oh goodness, about 4 or 5 months ago. I have everything kitted up and ready to go. Problem is that when I started doing the cast on, which is a circular cast on, which, by the way, I suck at. Yeah. I'm a little bit scared to try it and still kind of lace weight, so I'm gonna wait until I finish a little bit more things on my stash list and get myself a little bit more brain power before I try that again. And basically, I'm scared to try it because it is one of the most complex shawls I've ever attempted. So we'll see how that goes. And then after all that, I have no idea. I'll be in the middle of my stash dash casting off itis, I guess you can say. I'll be pretty much working on whatever project strikes my fancy. Don't get me wrong, I do have a official quote unquote list of everything I need to finish. I may or may not stick to that. It depends on how far into the list I get pretty quickly. And if I feel like doing the same order. I may change my mind. Who knows? That's the beauty of me. I definitely have ADD when it comes to my knitting projects, so I tend to flip between thing to thing. Onto the fun part, enabling. Now, trying to weed myself off from buying lots of yarn as another stash dash goal is pretty awesome. However, this week some yarn that has been in transit for a while finally got here this week. Don't get me wrong, they're absolutely beautiful. I got 4 different skeins of the Yowza collection from Miss Babs, with the intention of making those weighted shawls. The first one I have would be the Junkin Watermelon colorway. I have BFF, the Mad Hatter, and Zombie Honeymoon. Like I said, I got this anticipation of making those shawls. They are absolutely gorgeous. I'll actually have to show you pictures of them. That's how gorgeous they are. I'm willing to share the love. And trust me, they're in the shop now. Go for it. Go for it. Now, onto a section I'm sure you probably haven't heard other podcasters mention. I'm going to have a list of weekly obsessions, things that I get a little bit obsessed about throughout the course of the week. This is actually going to be 2 weeks of obsessions because a few of them have to pertain to my birthday, which is actually on the 18th of May, if you're wondering. So, the first one I want to mention would be the new watermelon culottes at Dunkin'. Let's just put it this way, I've already had 4 of them since they released it for the summer months. They are so good and not good for you at all, but that's what makes them great. I'm hopefully going to step back from drinking those for a while, but who knows? It's the summer, and I like watermelon, so we'll leave it at that. The second thing that I actually am kind of obsessed about happens to revolve around my birthday. My sister actually got me a few cupcakes from Sweet Maria's, which is actually a pretty awesome bakery near where I live. She decides she's going to go out and get me a bunch of flavors that I've never tried before and some that I have. And yeah, they've been absolutely obsessive, amazing, and addictive. So let's just put this. I finished the last one for breakfast this morning. And then let's see. The third thing I do want to mention actually revolves around another birthday gift I received. My lovely friend and business partner Mercury sent me a wonderful package of alpaca yarn from Knit Picks. I've never worked with alpaca before, so I keep finding myself just staring over at the bag that I put the skeins in, really, really, really wanting to start something with it, but there's so much on the needles now that I don't think I would do it justice. I want to be able to come at it with a clear mind and my hands not so rough when I work on it. So I'll wait for that. But so yes, thank you, Mercury. You are super sweet, and I am pretty much adopting you as my sister. I'm gonna come out and say it like that. You're my second sister. Okay. Anyway, so thank you again for that. Now the next 2 sections do revolve around a few of my other hobbies. So if you're not interested, that's fine. You can always skip ahead. The first one I'm calling What You Watching Silver. So as I mentioned before, I do watch a lot of TV when I'm working on my large number of projects, especially during Stash Dash. This past week, I've been playing catch up with Supernatural mostly. However, I definitely have flitted between a few episodes of a few series. So I'm definitely going back through NCIS, The Gilmore Girls, Downton Abbey. Of course, that one with the intention of watching from the beginning of the final season. And then Glee. I'm also a bit behind on Gotham, Dancing with the Stars, and Dead Files as well. Pretty much this past week I've only watched 1 episode of each. But it's a start, it counts. The next thing I'm going to talk about is what you read in Silver. Besides watching a lot of TV, I do tend to read a lot. I tend to read both print and I also enjoy listening to audiobooks. I'll try to specify which one is which, just so you know. I have actually been reading through the Anita Blake series by Laura Kane Hamilton. I'm actually currently on book 21, which is titled Kiss the Dead. The character of Anita Blake is a very strong character who just happens to be very supernaturally inclined, so the book title doesn't give anything away as to how good the series is. You do have to start from the beginning to kind of know where she's come from. Recently, the character has been a little bit whiny about her lot in life, but then it makes you think, oh, if she's got all this on her plate and she does whine a little bit, I don't feel so bad about whining about what's going on in my life, that kind of thing. And I'm also listening through the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. I'm currently on Wizard and Glass, which is about halfway through the series. This one happens to be about 27 hours long, and I feel like I've been listening to it forever. But let's be fair, I've been listening to bits and pieces while getting ready for work and whatever, mostly on my way to work sometimes as well. So if I were just to sit down and listen to it all at once, I'm sure it would be so much faster. But that's just no sign for silver to listen. What can I say? Well, just so you know, with both of those series, I'm reviewing both of them on my blog. I'll even link those entries in the show notes as well. That way you can follow that if you would like to. If you don't really want to read it, or you want to get kind of a glimpse as to what's going on with the series before you put your time and efforts into it, that's up to you as well. Let's see. I did a little bit of writing this week. It will be very far between that you will see me write anything more than just blog entries. But blog entries are kind of a start for me. It's been a resolution this year to try to get something new up every week, whether it's adding to the reviews that I've been, slowly building throughout the course of the year, or just kind of throwing new ideas out there, stuff that's been on my mind for a while. The other thing you may see up there are bits and pieces of stories that I've been kind of writing for myself. I'm more of a fantasy romance book writer, so if sci-fi and fairies and things aren't your forte, then you can possibly give that a skip when I put those up. But I do encourage you, just to let me know if you have the time, just to drop me a line, tell me how you think, if you've got a few minutes to read through it. I do welcome criticisms about my writing. It does, I feel, makes me a lot better about that. But I hope to have my first chapter of this new series that I've been working on hopefully by the middle of June, so you can kind of see what my crazy mind dreams up. I'll leave it at that. Wow, I've been talking for a while. I'm just gonna try to wrap things up a little bit because your time is precious. I understand. I do want to thank you for everyone for checking out my podcast and giving me a shot. Please let me know what you think. I can be found on several social medias. Firstly, I've actually set up a show page on Ravelry, which you've already found me on hopefully by now. You could always become a member there. I will welcome any advice you may leave me there. I am SilverLuna2112 on Ravelry as well, so if you'd like to PM me, you can. I answer as fast as I possibly can, I promise. I'm there a good portion of the day. Kind of addicted. On Instagram, I am both Silver's Treats, SilverStreats, and Silver's Dreamland. On Twitter, I am at Silver's Knitting. I do tend to read through all my messages as soon as I possibly can. If you don't hear from me within 24 hours, please feel free to email me directly at silversdreamland@gmail.com. I do tend to answer that a lot faster. I don't know why, but it'll be a good way for you to contact me if you need me as well. And now, I'm going to leave you with a thought that I've had this week based on a quote I read somewhere. That quote is, being happy doesn't mean that everything is perfect. It means that you've decided to look beyond the imperfections. That was unknown. Just remember, everyone, mistakes do happen, both in our waking lives and in our crafts. If we can learn from them and look past the ugliness, we will live so much better. And so much happier. Until next time, have a great week, everyone. Bye.